It's time for the lightning talks. So may I ask maybe people to make a little bit less noise and keep their concentration for the last half hour or so, and then we can all party together. So I have one announcement first. Somebody lost this piece of electronics here. Does that belong to anyone?
Before we start with the lightning talk, can I say a few words?
Yeah. Philip wants to say a few words.
All right. I would like all volunteers to come on the stage now. All PyData volunteers. Come here. There are more. Valentin, Sylvain, also one of the volunteers. Okay, so real quick. At this point, I would like to, thank all of you and say, okay, like half a year ago, Valentin and I talked about whether or not we want to do a PyData this year. And back then we knew it would be a lot of work, volunteer work. But today I have to say I'm really happy we did it. We started it. I'm really happy to have all of you here. We really want to grow the data science community, especially in Berlin and in Germany and in Europe. And I'm really happy we did this decision back then and we organized this event. Thank you, Valentin, for being great at organizing the event. And thank you, Sylvain, Siren, Vanessa, and Mark, right? And there's Oscar. Where's Oscar? You're there. So thank you a lot. And now we come to the lightning talks. Where's the... Loic, you're one of the volunteers as well. This is Loic.
I kind of said I wasn't doing volunteering anymore, but I guess... can I have like the 6 lightning talk speakers come up front? Maybe, so can you manifest yourselves? Where are you guys? 1, 2, 3, 4. Please come up. 5. 1, 2, 3. There's one missing. Sylvain. Okay, perfect. Okay, maybe I just want to have you sort of at hand, so maybe you can have a seat in the front row or something. Okay. Okay, so maybe I can have the first one. Hello, dialogue. And Joy. Okay. What's your name? Henning, welcome to the stage, and you've got 5 minutes and a few questions. Good luck.
All right, 5 minutes is actually plenty, because I just wanted to say hello, my name is Henning. And I'm the founder of Dialog Droids. I just moved to Berlin, signed the lease last Friday. And it's great to have such a community here in Berlin of data scientists. And And at Dialog Droids, we develop dialogue optimization systems. So we develop a platform that allows you as developers for your app or device, create a human interface. So text or voice input to machine translation. Yeah. And the company is just a few weeks old. We have a small team working on this kind of problems, and we just got funding and moved into our small office, and just wanted to say hello. And in case somebody of you is interested in natural language processing and machine learning, I would definitely like to get in touch with you and hear what you're building. And if there's anything we can do for contributing to the community, please let me know. Thank you very much.
Any questions?
Dialogue droids.
Dialogue droids. I have one question.
Hi. Your application or your framework, do it work on the app or on your phone locally, or it is computed in the cloud?
So the question was whether everything is computed locally on the cloud. Right now, we are completely in the cloud. If there's demand for local computation, we might also move it locally, but might also pose some challenges because the models might be very big and shipping these around is not so easy.
Another question? Big round of applause for Henning, and welcome to Berlin. So, installing Docker preparation for tomorrow's tutorial by Sylvain, who wants to give you heads up on what to do to get ready for tomorrow.
Okay, so yeah, tomorrow there's this tutorial, tomorrow morning. There was a little link that was added a little bit earlier today on the abstract. At the end, if you click on, the internet is not going to work. Oh yeah, okay. There's a link here, tutorial prerequisites and instructions. And if you go there, so if you plan to attend, it gives a bit of maybe, well, first that it's for beginners. That's how the tutorial was designed. So that was the mindset with which I approached it. So it gives instruction. If you can install Docker before coming to the tutorial, will be useful. If you can register a Docker Hub account, especially pull some images, because as you notice, the internet quality here is not that great. And Docker Hub, when we pull images, is quite slow. So it's just not going to work. And if you can install Docker Compose. So maybe just by curiosity, how many of you plan to maybe attend this tutorial? Okay. And how many are new to Docker? Okay, it's kind of cool. So the thing is, like, if Docker is not new to you, it will be boring probably. But at the same time, I will try to give some detail extras that maybe can be still fun to see. Yeah. So, do you have any questions? No. So that's the main thing. So if you can check this out, and because it will be the way the tutorial has been designed is really that it's interactive. So that I'll show a command and we play with it. So it's not, if you're just sitting and just watching, it's not really optimal. It would be really good if you have Docker installed and then you really try out for yourself and see what happens. And the goal I had when I did this tutorial was that at the end, your setup, you know, when in the following weeks or whatever, if you want to use Docker, you have a kind of base as a starter, you know, to keep going and keep learning on your own and use it. So that's the goal, you know. So that's all I wanted to say. I don't know if you have questions. No?
Any questions? Okay, thank you, Sylvain. Big round of applause. And now, a big round of applause for Stefan, who is going to talk about GUIs.
Can we get the computer to work?
Do you have such a... There might be... There's
Legacy one.
There's... Okay. So I think it's a chain thing, right? I mean, this... No.
I should have.
Okay, but no. These are two females.
No, it doesn't work. Okay, then without the demo.
HDMI connections?
No. Then without the demo, no problem.
No HDMI. Or yeah, you can use that. Okay. Yeah. Source detection, so their output's fine. It should just work. Yeah, it's detected in your computer at least. We have to shove it to the other screen.
It should start a window automatically. No, it's not working.
That's kind of well. We were seeing the video thingy pop up, right? Yeah, right. So I didn't change anything over there because it's the right input.
I do have a display for it.
So yeah,
There's nothing on there. I don't know why. Okay, then without. It's not.
Okay. Microphone could be useful.
Yeah. Hello. Okay. So, hello guys. I thought I just introduce myself. I'm Stefan Porz. I have been a researcher in the field of computational neuroscience, especially in epilepsy research. And I thought I'd branch out and tell you something about graphical user interfaces. Especially because it's been an issue at our work. So we had the problem that we had a lot of data, of course, and we had some intermediate results from analyzing brain activity. And the people in our office just wanted to know, I want to see your data, please show it to me. So we went together and built some results for them, but this wasn't enough. They wanted to know, I want to search through the data all by myself. So we thought, okay, we want to build a software where they can do that in an unsupervised way from us as researchers. And so we built a small piece of software that can do that exactly. For that, we used Matplotlib as a basis to produce the graphs. So we used our code that was used beforehand for creating graphs, but it was integrated in a larger software project, which is layouted and created buttons and point different objects to interact with using PyQt. And this is actually doable and it's fast. That was a thing that was a surprise to me, because if you create several Matplotlib images one after another, that takes like forever. But there are some tricks to it. If you use Matplotlib animate and cache the background, then it's entirely fast enough to do a complete application out of it. It integrates quite nicely, and with PyQt you have the opportunity to quickly lay out your application without too much work in it, in a static way if you use a point-and-click application for it, or in a dynamic way if you use Python objects directly. Okay, I did have a demo prepared, but it seems not to be working at the moment.
Disconnected right now.
Yeah. So if anyone wants to see how this is working, you can come to me after the talks, and I will gladly show you the application and operation and the source code attached to it. So thank you for this. And one short notice: if you are from the Cologne area and you or your employer is hiring, I'm interested too. Thank you.
Thank you, Stefan. Any questions?
Thanks. Did you use the Qt matplot widget? Because I used that like 5 years ago. It was kind of unusable. Or did you write something yourself?
I use the PyQt widgets and functions very well.
So the Qt matplot widget, so not just QImage or something like that, because that was what I ended up using.
I use the matplotlib framework and
okay.
This is Canvas if it is, and it worked quite well.
Okay, cool. Thanks. I can show you. Oh, cool. Yeah, it was a really long time ago, so yeah.
Another question? Okay. So thank you, Stefan. And now we have Stefan. Another one who is going to talk about cond auto activate.
I think an A is missing. I'll do it.
Conda, oder?
Yeah.
Okay.
So hi, I'm Stefan. I do machine learning and robotics. Fun stuff, cool stuff. I'm not going to talk about that. I also have to do a lot of teaching, and like nothing is like Conda is awesome for that, because if you're in front of a class and like trying to explain how to set up like the environment in Python and stuff, it really sucks. So Conda solved a lot of problem for me. But like if you're in front of a class in front of 200 people and you try something out and it's not working, and you're like an idiot because you didn't activate your Conda environment or something, it's like really embarrassing and annoying. So what I'm showing is actually kind of embarrassing. It's tiny, but it's really helpful. Like when you I have a weird keyboard layout. I can't type with one hand. So I'll just switch to another project I have, and voila, I'm in a new Conda environment. Normally you have to do this like, I don't even know, source Conda activate, source activate, then whatever environment you have. I always forget that, and I guess I'm not the only one. So what I have here is just like when changing a directory, it just activates the new Conda environment. And if I go back, and another environment. Awesome, great. It's tiny. So all I do is like I have this like I source the Conda auto as H, like a tiny file that automatically looks in the directory if there's a .conda auto file. And it activates the environment. Like it's tiny, but it's so nice to not think about Conda. Like I don't know any Conda commands anymore because it just like starts that thing and I'm there, I'm happy. And there's a GitHub repository, you can clone it, or you can write like 5 lines of like shell command and it automatically activates it. I don't, wait. Like it, yeah. It just basically source activate your environment that is in the Conda file. That's it. It's great. In real life, I do actually like more interesting stuff than that. Like the robot stuff is cool. Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay, so here we have pandas categorical D type.
My handwriting is way better than I thought it was.
And your name? I forgot your name from this morning.
So my name is Matthew, everyone.
Matthew, yeah.
I've got crazy resolution here. And a monitor that, or a beamer, I've learned it's called. That just keeps expanding. Okay, whoops. Okay, is that legible in the back? Okay, so I do a few projects that sort of are sort of on the boundaries of performance of pandas, sort of trying to extend that a bit. And in the mailing list, we get a lot of people coming and saying like, hey, I have this big data, and things are slow. How can I use your project? And it turns out they just need to use pandas better. So Lightning Talk title is just use pandas. It actually works far farther than you think it does. One particular use case, one particular aspect that is rarely known, sort of new, is very powerful, is the categorical D type. People who are familiar with R will know this, but just show of hands, who uses categorical D types? Right, like 5 people. Okay. So one common reason why pandas is slow is object D type. Whenever you have text in a pandas data frame, that is stored as a Python string object. And that sort of runs at Python speed, it's very slow. It's often the reason why your pandas code is slow. Okay. So common examples of text that might appear in a pandas data frame, things like male or female or stock symbols. These actually don't have to be represented as text. They sort of are members of categories with a fixed number, maybe less with gender, but a fixed number of options. And if we represent them intelligently, we can be far more efficient. Okay. So I'm going to type a bit. So this is going to be a little bit awkward. Okay, so here's a pandas data frame with some names, some balances, some genders. And if we look at the D types there, we find that balance is a float, and then name and gender are both object. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to change gender to be category, and we're going to see how it's stored in memory. And it'll be pleasant. Okay, so the line at the top, that changed the D type. So now we're storing our categories, we're storing our gender column as a category. So what is that? So it still looks the same, and we still do operations, and we don't notice any difference. It feels exactly like a normal pandas data frame. Okay, but if we look at gender, we see that it's a category type. It has 2 different categories, female and male. So a category is stored as 2 things. One, a unique index with 1 element for each unique element of your set, of your category set, and a bunch of integers. In this case, because we only have 2 categories, we can fit that in a single byte. Okay, so now rather than storing these male-female, essentially Booleans in these very large bloated Python objects, they're now being stored in a single byte. This is very important for performance. So let's go over to a less trivial data set. This is a small subset of the New York City taxicab data set, which records every taxi cab ride in New York City from a certain period. This is a small sample just so we can sort of play with it. And it has lots of fields in there, like when the trip happened, where it happened, and these 2 things at the top, they are unique identifiers for the taxi cab. And they're stored as these SHA strings. And they're what causes things to be slow with this data set. So if I time, so I'm going to group by the medallion, by this unique identifier, and then sum up all the trip distances, and then find the people who've driven the most. Okay, we're finding the taxi cab drivers who were most active during this period. And here they are. And there's a small data set, so it took 140 milliseconds. Not bad. I'm going to do my same trick from before. And now it takes 20 milliseconds. Okay, so that is one trick that can make your pandas code go much, much, much faster. There's almost an order of magnitude with very little cost. It stores much more efficiently in memory. You can store it on disk much better. You can serialize it. It's faster with group by operations. It's a win for everybody. You should use pandas categoricals. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you. Any questions, please? Yes, we have a question.
Right, that's a great question. So what happens if someone who comes by who isn't male or female, for example? It'll add it into the index, and you'll just add a new value. So female was 0, male was 1, new gender is value 2, I think. This is not my work, by the way. This is recent work in Pandas. It's great, but you should ask on the Pandas mailing list. I think I've seen that work well, and it does work well. So you can add new categories.
So you can actually have an infinite number of categories.
Well,
and
you
it's
will
still
be
slower, or when does it become?
So this works very well. So in that data set, there are about 9,000 unique taxicabs in that particular month or day of data. There are about 100,000 elements. So it works very well when you have a higher number of repetitions in your column. So it would work very poorly if you have just sort of plain text.
Right.
That would be very bad because you'd be storing the categories one each. So it works very well when you have repeats, like with male and female. There's 2 categories, 1 million records. Right. So so we noticed that gender was an 8-bit integer. If the 256th gender comes around, what happens? And I actually don't know the answer to that question. It might work. I suspect that it works, but it might not. Okay. Thank you all.
Thank you. What's your name?
Tadej.
Oh man, okay. Well, I think you'll have to introduce yourself. Okay. I can't read from here. Okay. Good luck.
Hi, I'm Tadej Steiner. I work here as a machine learning research engineer, and I'm typically working on mobility mining problems. And today I'll talk about something that's a bit more of my personal passion, and that's automatic machine learning. So the subtitle is a bit tongue-in-cheek, so how to put yourself out of work, but it's something that's kind of a consequence of what this can actually do. So, like many of you know that a lot of time when you do data science or whatever research is spent on like figuring out what model fits best and what kind of hyperparameters are good ones. And this can be especially complicated when the parameter space explodes a lot. So it's sometimes simply a lot of work, the grid searching or like figuring out what thing works best by your intuition. So it's kind of black magic. Everyone probably did something like this in scikit-learn, try different regularization parameters and so on. So there's a pretty obvious opportunity to automating this. So there's a pattern that usually takes place, at least this is how I'm doing it. So it's a sample n equals 1, but let's try. First, like figure out what kind of models should work here best, what kind of parameter ranges, and then see and try which one works best and what kind of things significantly outperform what was the initial baseline. So that's something that scikit-learn already has implemented kind of semi-automatically. So there's already grid search or randomized search, and a lot of the at least linear model classifiers and regressors have a built-in cross-validation that optimizes some of these parameters. So you don't have to do it yourself, but it's kind of a semi-automatic thing. There's not much domain knowledge stored into this, so you still have to specify your parameter ranges. And in order to solve this, there's actually quite an active research community around hyperparameter optimization. So this is a class of techniques that figures out what would be the best model hyperparameters for something and doing this automatically. So what's also interesting here is there's a competition on this topic, and it's called AutoML. And it has an interesting setup. It has multiple stages. At every stage, they release more data sets. And the data sets are totally unseen. You don't know what kind of structure they are, so you basically can't prepare yourself for them. But your models are already uploaded on their server, and when the data gets released, there's a ranking. So basically, it's totally blind learning. You have to prepare your AutoML code that it can figure out what kind of things work best on the dataset and what doesn't. So I encourage you to open at least the AutoML org, which actually has a lot of proper research citations that are behind this. And yeah, they actually provide CSVs, so you can actually test on your own side, but the actual competition runs stuff on their server. So it's kind of like Kaggle type setup, and it's hosted somewhere else on Coda Lab, I think.
I imagine that you would run into a lot of
Actually, the formatting and the data types, that's something that the documentation kind of sorts out. So there's some minimal cleanup so that you do get something that's like a UCI data set or something that is a similar setup. So you don't have to do really nasty cleaning yourself. So you have contiguous normal data types. They're not conflicting. It's a nice data model. So it's cleaned up. Yes. That's true, and that's actually something that that's one thing that most good submissions that kind of score highly do something like that implicitly. So it's exploration by like automation. So basically you can make hypothesis, okay, this data is not linearly separable, let's dump a kernel across it and see if we can make a better predictor. So it's not very something that you can interpret, but if your goal is just to have a good model and that predicts well, works pretty nice. So I actually did some nice submission. It's actually open source. I'll share the link later on Twitter probably, based on the awesome hyperopt scikit-learn library. But there's some significant extensions around how I'm defining different problem spaces and parameter spaces. And this got me like 3rd place on the new data release. So this was like totally blind test. I didn't know what was the actual outcome. And these are like 30, 40 competitors here. So it's pretty good for like 2 days of work or something. And like just to conclude and not to brag too much. So my point is that I believe that we shouldn't think in terms of how many hours we spend, but how many CPU hours we spend for finding a nice model. And we won't automate everything, so yes, you still get to keep your jobs because there's a big part of the effort that's actually in designing the initial problem space. And that's actually the part where your intuition like counts a lot. So that's it, thanks.
Thank you, Tadej. Any more questions? We have questions. Yeah. Why don't you take the microphone? It's better.
So there are a lot of different methods to check that your model that you find in the end is okay and works not only on a training set, but on a more complete set. But given the massive amount of testing you do, at some point you will run out of possible things you can test on this data set, and you will find some model that is best for the data you have available. How can you make sure, without gathering a load of petabytes of extra data, that your model is actually good and generalizes?
So yeah, this is like obvious, the confirmation bias thing. So if you generate 50,000 different models and one actually fits by accident, it's not usually the good solution. So typically what I was doing was we had a training set, like a test set, and then there's a separate validation set. So basically you need to separate these 3 times. And when you tune the parameter models, you just test on the first test set, and only when you like reach an optimum there, you test on the like final test set. So that's like that's what actually prevents you from overfitting that badly. There is some risk that there will be a further data set that will be like unseen and you might not fit there. But if you got 2 stages right, it usually means that you're pretty general. But the trick is that you treat this parameter optimization as just one, like, it's kind of like randomized learning. So you're actually learning new model parameters, but you call them hyperparameters. So in essence, you have to test with something that's like out of that space. Usually that solves the problem. And of course, yes.
Do you also build ensembles or single models?
So in my particular code, I think I was there's like different ways to define design spaces. So I think I was using the ensembles just because there's scikit-learn has built-in ensembles for like decision trees. But the core of my model was basically to search through the space of possible pre-processing approaches. So let's say not just feed the actual data in, but do like a kernel approximation, do a random tree embedding, do a PCA, ICA, and then fit a model on top of that. So that was like my search space, and it kind of turned out that's pretty good. And ensembles is just like one particular avenue of search. So there's like a whole, like there's an infinity amount of things that you can try, and ensembles are pretty obvious usually. Yeah. So thanks. So, yeah. By the way, if someone's doing computer vision, I would be happy to talk to them. Thanks.
Thank you. So here comes the last talk. Mike, is that your name?
It's Mike, yeah.
Okay, welcome Mike, and good luck.
Okay, nice. Alrighty. Looks good. Okay. Hello, everybody. The slides are in German. Please excuse, I didn't have time to translate them, but I will speak in English. But the topic has something to do with the location we are in Germany. I would like to talk about a German software foundation or Python Software Verband. The subtitle says we are serving the German Python community, and I just want to say a few words about this organization. You will see the logo there also. We are also a sponsor of this conference here. We are a foundation, the German foundation, so we have a legal structure here because we need it in Germany to do certain things. And actually all 3 board members are listed here, are here at the conference, so if you want to talk to us, we are here, we have a booth there at the table, so you can talk to us if you like to. What do we do? So we support the German-speaking Python community. So even though we are a German organization, we try to represent also the German-speaking Python community in Austria and Switzerland and other countries that speak German. So a few things, we have a website which tries to be a kind of a hub for this kind of organization. We support user groups. So if you are a user group in Germany, you can get listed on our website, or people can find you. And also we support you if you want to set up something, how to do it, and some logistics and stuff like this. We also support events. So we have been organizing 3 PyCon-D conferences, and actually we've been the local organizer for the EuroPython last year here in Berlin. PyData was included, or was close to this conference. And then we've been organized this big EuroPython conference, and we also organize other events like the Python Camp, which is a unconference kind of thing, and we are also co-organizer of the PyOn conference in Hamburg, which is in the beginning of September. I have some stickers, so you're welcome to come there. We organize sprints, so we support sprints with sprint scholarships, travel scholarships that people have to travel, things like this. We support the World Clone Day and a few other things. We also do public relationship things, so we go to conferences, we go to exhibitions, Linux Fest, stuff like this. We write press releases, and we try to spread the word about Python. Or that other organizations, companies or governmental and non-profit organizations get to know about Python. We try to work together with them. And what we do, so we support the community, we give organization support if you need some organization support. We have some financial means, and it's not unlimited, but we have some means to do it. And also we have technical support, if you need some tools, we have a Jira, community Jira set up. We have email lists running and other things. We run some virtual machines for some community projects. And we organize in groups, so different groups that do different work, organizing the conference, like a PyCon-D conference, public relationships, networking outside, working with the community, setting up the website. They have a very interesting PyMove 3D programming competition for teenagers where they program 3D. Those kind of things, so that's our activities. And we meet openly once a month, and this meeting in IRC is open for everybody. And we also encourage people that not even members of the foundation to get into it and give their opinion. And that's how it works. And actually, if you're interested, you might consider becoming a member. So there are different membership things. You can options. So you can just a personal member, or freelancers, or a company. We also welcome companies. So if you want to get involved in the Python community and want to do something, becoming a member would be one option, because you could support the Python community directly and indirectly being a member. Also, we want active members. So if you want to get involved, you become an active member. So you can get an account at our website and do things, contribute content and do things. So I very encourage you, if you like to become a member, talk to us. What it means. And if you want to have more information, this would be our URL, psv.org. You get there, and also via Twitter. So please come talk to us. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We have a question.
Yes, I have a question. Could you briefly explain for somebody who is not in that Python world, what's the difference between this Python software verband and then also PyData, which also seems to be a community? Both of you claim to be communities. What's the difference, and where do they link together? The second question would be, what I do miss, at least in Germany, is that there is any activity for young people. My son, by chance, he's 14. By chance, he is taking a Python class, but it's, it's once a week, and they don't really do it seriously. And what I would love to see is a Python camp or something, for young people, let's say 12 to 18, as you see them in the US a lot. And so that's maybe a question even for the community here. Why does that not exist, and how could we establish that?
Thank you for the questions. So the first question about PyData and Python software verband. So the PyData is a data community. That's a kind of a special community inside the Python community, and we are a national. We are for the German-speaking community. So we exist for several years, and we try to represent this kind of regional, local, national aspect of the German-speaking. But the PyData is kind of worldwide. So it's the regional scale is different, and also with the focus. PyData are specialized on scientists and scientific data use, and we are the very wide focus: web development, business development, all those kind of business automation, deployment, all those kind of things. It's part of the Python. So that's much wider. And we're not only doing technical things, we also have all these community user groups. We support these local user groups that have nothing to do with PyData per se, but with Python. So that maybe hopefully answers the question. And of course, the second point is also very important. So if you have an idea and you want to do something, we are welcome to help you to do this. So if you have an idea, and even I know I would like to do project XYZ, I want to do this, then we can help you. Either we can even support you financially if it needs money, or need a room, or you need organization, you need some legal entity that's signing a contract, those kind of things we can do. And also we know other people that might be interested. We can make connections. There's a person here and a person there. They could do it. They cannot do it by themselves, but together with the support of the foundation. And if you have an idea, we'll love to talk to you about this. And you say, this is good, and this works, and this guy, why is not this guy working together with us? Because we never talk to him, because we don't know, or something like this.
Maybe I can add some comments to you. We are a legal association, as you know, in Germany, eingetragener Verein, so we can speak with other associations. And you mentioned the kids. We are trying to get this into the schools, maybe in kindergarten. We had indeed a Python camp, PyCamp in Cologne. This was starting 12, 13 years old. We have a PyMove 3D. This is a award, Schülerwettbewerb. You can program from 13 until up to 17. And one thing is we address other associations like VDI or the IHKs, so the chambers. So we're something like a association. They want to speak with us, so we represent them, and you can reach them directly through us. And these are the things Mike told you, and we are, of course, dependent on the work we are doing, and you are contributing also. Thanks. Or Reimer, maybe. He's the founder of the PyMove 3D.
Okay, we had already 2 competitions, and the presentations of the schoolers, they were very famous. They are already all on PyVideo. You can watch them there. Just search for PyMove 3D. And there was a schooler which, of 13 years, we programmed a game, SCART in German, in 3D, in Blender, and made a presentation about this. And a year later, he won the Kiwi contest, the international Kiwi contest. So this means at the moment you can activate childs and they find something interesting, they have lots of time and do very interesting stuff. And they maybe have a new job, a very good job in the future. So there are some on the FrostCon to get this more in the near future in August. There is always a camp for schoolers. So they can have a weekend there and have a lot of programming stuff there. It's not only related to Python, but maybe that's a good start for your child in the next months. And there's this contest. We will open it again. There's not clear at the moment when the end will be. In the past, we made it also that there were sponsors of the German GFU. It's a company which makes trainings in Cologne. They gave us rooms and we did a lot of trainings with schoolers. And also a lot of young students joined in. And this idea is based on learning object-oriented programming by using Blender. Blender is open source and it has Python 3 implemented. And every click you can do in Python. And the project itself describes, take the first one, please. The first URL, please. No, sorry, the PySV. Sorry. Okay. Yeah, that's an idea of course material. And we also like more of this. This is some stuff, examples, which you can just use for showing. For example, you can show some molecules or some make some movies. Blender has a very great community. You can make figures, and there's just some code. Also, sometimes there are movies which introduce some difficult window management. For example, in Blender, it has a nice GUI, but sometimes it behaves different than you. Maybe, I don't know how much people are knowing Blender here. Oh, some, that's good. Maybe I should make next year a tutorial about it. Okay. So that's the idea, and there's material, and it's all online, and you can try out, learn a lot about Python and how to make movies.